Morning Tankers. Today's video, well, I guess it still sort of applies, but it's concerning the tank of the month for June, the Chieftain Mark II. And as you can clearly see on screen, that's not the Chieftain Mark II, that's the Mark I. Well, because of Tank Fest 2024 and the sale that was put on all the British tanks in World of Tanks Modern Armor, I decided, seeing as I had the silver, to pick up the Conqueror Mark I again and purchase the Chieftain Mark II. This was the Mark II was, I got that because I wanted the completionist, work on getting all the premium tanks in Era 2. There's a lot, but it ultimately, I got him to do a comparison. As you can see, I'm setting up the Mark I to be as close to the Mark II, which is weird, and these are both first matches. It's odd to do a comparison to two tanks that are so close together, and the Mark I, once you get all the upgrades, is better, because they both start off with the top speed of 43 kilometers per hour, and then with the next engine boost, the Chieftain Mark I goes up to about 53, 54. These two tanks are notoriously bad, which is why I waited for something I consider to be a good deal for purchasing the premium version of the Conqueror, which, because it was taking a month, I got 850 gold and 3 days premium time and a couple extra XP boosters that are commander boosters, silver boosters, whatever, all for $10. So $5 for, I know, German tanks are the best. You love your leopards. Let it go. This was, two tanks I kind of avoid when I first did the grind for the Challenger 2. Do not enjoy any, really, of the British tanks once you stepped out of Era 1. Because as you can see, when you have a top speed of 43 in Era 2, I remind you, this is the entry level tank into Era 2 on the tech tree line. So why would you also then make a premium tank that is not fully upgraded like this is, and therefore worse? It's such a weird tank that honestly I think a lot of us agree would be better suited in Era 1, because it's one of those things that, with just a few nerfs, it would slot perfectly along with the M103 and the WZ111 in the Era 1. It could have been one of the faster heavy tanks, on par with the WZ111 for speed, but still having the poor hull armor like the WZ111, but having a good turret and an accurate, hardish hitting gun, which would have been fine in Era 1, but it got put in Era 2, and now it's severely outclassed by a lot of the ATGMs. Anything with an ATGM is a huge threat just because its ammo rack is up front. The faster the tank, the harder it is to deal with. And multi-weapon systems. The Ignis Brigaccio definitely can just rip this thing apart. So that's kind of, it's so odd that the Conqueror in general is in Era 2 when it could have been fine in Era 1 and not overpowered. But, the boom snout is wonderful. It has 408 millimeters of pan on the stand around, over 500 alpha damage, and with all, bring up the medium tanks in the air too. Yeah, there's a lot of them. They're fast, but with like 1,000 meters per second of speed or more, the boom snout is very capable. But again, if it were just slightly nerfed, it'd be totally fine in Era 1. It's so frustrating. And the footage I'm showing you is the first match of the Conqueror Mark 1 and the Mark 2 out of a 45-minute play session, a play session that had a lot of that.
Need to get me a slave. Well, it's a good time. Now that's how you bloody do it. Drivers in, we're sitting ducks. We're done.
Yes, what a lovely cacophony of frustration. Now, I know what you're saying. Get good. Play it as not a true assault medium. Play it like a support sniper, second row type tank, and you are right. Absolutely. And I have found with fully upgraded, the speed up to almost 55 kilometers per hour is great. For an upgraded speed, that's absolutely atrocious. To have such a large and heavy tank, we're moving on to the Mark II now, is absolutely ridiculous. And this is why you don't see, until it was the tank of the month, any Conqueror really a lot, unless someone was grinding through the British line. It's almost like when Wargaming brought in the British heavy line, they were just like, we don't have enough tanks. It was a weird line to begin with. The fact that, like, to play that you have light tanks that connect back into it because they don't have enough light tanks. The reason I was checking out the module for where the engine was, because sometimes not only is this tank prone to being ammo racked, every once in a while I've just noticed I get set on fire pretty easily, probably because there is no hull armor. And that's why it's such a frustrating tank, because it's like, oh, Sixth Sense is a must. Even in Cold War, it's a must, especially with this thing, because once you detect, it's like, back up. Because it's like the Object 120. It's a target. The turret may bounce some shots. I have a very surprising video to show you that features that. But that's more to come later for another video. But this is where it shines, at distance. Sort of, when you can time the shots just right. But I did not want to be detected. I did not want to be seen. I did not want to be spotted at all while playing these things, because the boom snout just can't compensate. It has a great reload speed. You can definitely get it down to being almost 7 seconds. It hits hard. It is accurate. The upside to being so slow in these things, it's like if you've ever played World War II mode. Such an odd thing to say in this day and age, but that's the truth of it. With some of the heavy tanks in those games, or in that mode, that have good accuracy, but are slow, it means like firing on the move meant as long as the target was stationary, you could probably hit it. Because of how, like, oh, I'm on the move at 10 kilometers per hour going up a hill, the bloom on the reticle is almost non-existent. So which means at like 500 meters, you're still going to slam the target. It's still the same case with this. I'm like, yeah, but a lot of other tanks are relatively accurate while being on the move at a higher rate of speed. That's kind of the frustration of Cold War mode. Well, yeah, but this feels like World War II mode. Like the Conqueror feels like it's taken from World War II mode, given a few buffs, and it's actually been buffed since its inception into Era 2, and still doesn't feel like it fits. It feels like it's barely capable. And with more tanks, with multi-weapon systems, especially with an emphasis on ATGMs, because the ATGM takes out half of your health or a major portion of it, and then the secondary will whittle away. Everyone's probably starting to think about the Blitzpanzer. Yep, that's a problem. Just like you saw with the Ignis Brigaccio. Once they get in close, actually, that's the problem. It's like, okay, those smaller caliber boom snouts are not as effective at range, but you got a shot to do. I know, maybe you could still probably pen and just do low roll for the most part, but do 50, 80 damage. So, yeah, when my team was winning, I had the support, and I had that ability to fall back. Great tank. But when things started to move, when we were not in a static battle, which, as we know, Era 2 is becoming pretty much a lot of that. It was kind of like, oh, here we are playing catch-up. Oh, here we are being circled by multiple tanks. And this definitely doesn't feel like a T-72A. Like, you don't have that armor. Once you get that surrounded situation and you're not bouncing around, you're just eating them up, and, well, no, not eating them, you're just taking them. And watching that health bar drop so fast. And it was, I know I'm repeating most, but that was kind of like it. It was fun in a few key moments, but a little worrying. And that's kind of like, if you were in a medium tank, you'd be like, yeah, this is exactly how it is to play any of the Leopards. But you don't have that speed, you don't have the same kind of camo rating, and you sure as heck aren't as tall as this tank is, or as long. Like, that's the problem. I feel, Wargaming doesn't usually say why they made certain decisions and stuff, but it's so odd to be playing a tank that came out, was designed and produced and went into action-ish, like, at the same time period as, like, the WZ-111 in Cold War and the M103s, and just, like, it barely made it to the 60s, and we're like, nah. So, I don't know. It's truly a few seconds of fun because of how fast Cold War matches go, but a lot of frustration. I hope you don't get ammo racked. I hope you keep checks on the ground, and I hope the RNG is in your favor. But stick around for like and subscribe, because there's gonna be an interesting video coming out.